Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 31. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as the universes in me, and myself in you. Purport. The simple process of self-realization for every living entity is described here. The first principle to be understood is that this world is a product of the Supreme Will. There is an identity of this world with the Supreme Lord. This identity is accepted in a misconceived way by the impersonalists. They say that the Supreme Absolute Truth, transforming himself into the universe, loses his separate existence. Thus they accept the world and everything in it to be the Lord. That is pantheism, wherein everything is considered to be the Lord. This is the view of the impersonalist. But those who are personal devotees of the Lord take everything to be the property of the Supreme Lord. Everything, whatever we see, is the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. This is oneness. The difference between the impersonalist and the personalist is that the impersonalist does not accept the separate existence of the Lord, but the personalist accepts the Lord. He understands that although he distributes himself in so many ways, he has his separate personal existence. This is described in Bhagavad Gita. I am spread all over the universe in my impersonal form. Everything is resting on me, but I am not present. There is a nice example regarding the sun and the sunshine. The sun by its sunshine is spread all over the universe, and all the planets rest on the sunshine. But all the planets are different from the sun planet. One cannot say that because the planets are resting on the sunshine, these planets are also the sun. Similarly, the impersonal or pantheistic view that everything is God is not a very intelligent proposal. The real position, as explained by the Lord himself, is that although nothing can exist without him, it is not a fact that everything is him. He is different from everything. So here also the Lord says, you will see everything in the world to be non-different from me. This means that everything should be considered a product of the Lord's energy, and therefore everything should be employed in the service of the Lord. One's energy should be utilized for one's self-interest. That is the perfection of the energy. This energy can be utilized for real self-interest if one is compassionate. A person in Krishna consciousness, a devotee of the Lord, is always compassionate. He is not satisfied that only he himself is a devotee, but he tries to distribute the knowledge of devotional service to everyone. There are many devotees of the Lord who faced many risks in distributing the devotional service of the Lord to the people in general. That should be done. It is also said that a person who goes to the temple of the Lord and worships with great devotion, but who does not show sympathy to people in general or show respect to other devotees, is considered to be a third-class devotee. The second-class devotee is he who is merciful and compassionate to the fallen soul. The second-class devotee is always cognizant of his position as an eternal servant of the Lord. Acts compassion, he therefore makes friendships with devotees of the Lord, acts compassionately toward the general public in teaching them devotional service, and refuses to cooperate or associate with non-devotees. As long as one is not compassionate to people in general in his devotional service to the Lord, he is third-class devotee. The first-class devotee gives assurance to every living being that there is no fear of this material existence. Let us live in Krishna consciousness and conquer the nescience of material existence. It is indicated here that Kardama Muni was directed by the Lord to be very compassionate and liberal in his householder life and give assurance to people in his renounced life. A sannyasi, one who is in the renounced order of life, is meant to give enlightenment to the people. He should travel, going from home to enlighten. The householder, by the spell of Maya, becomes absorbed in family affairs and forgets his relationship with Krishna. If he dies in forgetfulness, like the cats and dogs, then his life is spoiled. It is the duty of a sannyasi, therefore, to go and awaken the forgetful souls with enlightenment of their eternal relationship with the Lord and to engage them in devotional service. The devotee should show mercy to the fallen souls and also give them the assurance of fearlessness. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he is convinced that he is protected by the Lord. Fear itself is afraid of the Lord. Therefore, what is he to do with fearfulness? To award fearfulness to the common man is the greatest act of charity. A sannyasi, or one who is in the renounced order of life, should wander from door to door, from village to village, from town to town, and from country to country, all over the world as far as he is able to travel, and enlighten the householders about Krishna consciousness. A person who is a householder but is initiated by a sannyasi has the duty to spread Krishna consciousness at home. As far as possible, he should call his friends and neighbors to his house and hold classes in Krishna consciousness. Holding a class means chanting the holy name of Krishna and speaking from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. There are immense literatures for spreading Krishna consciousness, and it is the duty of each and every householder to learn about Krishna from his sannyasi spiritual master. There is a division of labor in the Lord's service. The householder's duty is to earn money because a sannyasi is not supposed to earn money but is completely dependent on the householder. The householder should earn money by business or by profession and spend at least 50% of his income to spread Krishna consciousness. 25% he can spend for his family, and 25% he should save to meet emergencies. This example was shown by Rupa Goswami, so devotees should follow it. Actually, to be one with the Supreme Lord means to be one with the interest of the Lord. Becoming one with the Supreme Lord does not imply becoming as great as the Supreme Lord. It is impossible. The part is never equal to the whole. The living entity is always a minute part. Therefore, his oneness with the Lord is that he is interested in the one interest of the Lord. The Lord wants every living entity to always think about him, to be his devotee and always worship him. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Manmana bhava mad bhakta. Krishna wants everyone always to think of him. Everyone should always offer obeisances to Krishna. This is the will of the Supreme Lord, and devotees should try to fulfill his desire. Since the Lord is unlimited, his desire is also unlimited. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. In the transcendental world, there is unlimited competition between the Lord and the servitor. The Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimitedly, and the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desire. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. Kritva dayam cha jiveshu tadva chabhayam atmavan mayatmanam sahajagad drakshasya atmani chapi mam. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as the universes in me, and myself in you. So this verse is similar to the verse in Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, where Krishna explains the same thing. And this understanding has been given many other times according to the Acharya's desires. Sometimes we emphasize the oneness in the quality of the energetic source and the energy. In other words, we emphasize oneness in the quality of Krishna and Krishna's energies. And at other times, we emphasize the difference between Krishna and everything else. And at other times, we relate both the oneness and difference within the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. So, we find that these points are important because they describe about the relationship that the devotee should have with the Lord according to the devotee's perception and realization and development. The devotee should see the Lord everywhere. That is the vision of the Uttama Adhikari, the first-class devotee. He sees the Lord everywhere, in everything, and at the same time, everything within him as well. To see everything in the Lord and the Lord in everything is the vision of a topmost class of men. Everything's in the Lord because everything comes from His energy. It is all emanating from Him. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. And everything is within the Lord because all that exists must be within Him, since He is the framework of existence, and since it is His energy that is there within everything, then it is He. There is no difference between He and His energy. However, there is a difference. On the absolute platform, there is no difference, and there is difference simultaneously. The manifestation of the energy of the Lord, especially as it is emphasized here in this purport, there is a difference between the Lord and His energy. There is a difference because they are not the Lord directly. And that is the purport of Krishna's statement in Bhagavad Gita, where he says that I am manifested throughout this whole material world, Jagata Vyaktamurtina, in my unmanifested form, localized form, Paramatma. Krishna himself makes a distinction between his personal form and his personal energy and that which emanates from him. He very clearly makes a distinction between he himself and that which is emanating from him. That distinction is there for the higher class of devotees, because the higher class of devotees always look towards Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, singularly. Keep the door shut down there. Always. Singularly. They always look towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their most worshipful object. They will not even look towards the expansions of the Lord. Because once you start getting into the realm of expansion, there's no limitation, in fact. After all, Krishna expands in so many ways, in so many forms, millions of forms, just in the Vaikuntha Loka. Then there are the various avatars which descend in this world. There are the Shaktavesha avatars, the Vibhutis, which are various empowered incarnations or opulences of the Lord. So All of these various forms of the Lord are also expansions of the Lord, and we are also expansions of the Lord. The Shramsa and Vibhinamsha. Krishna himself is Shramsa. That means Shramsa, his own part, in other words, himself. And Vibhinamsha. Vibhina means separated. Bhina means separated. Vibhina means very much separated. The parts of the Lord, who are us in this material world, are by our consciousness completely separated from Krishna. That's called Maya. Therefore, we fit perfectly into the category of Vibhinamsha. The separated part and parcel of the Supreme. That position is eternal. However, when one becomes freed from Maya and is fully connected again with the Supreme Lord in that real oneness of love, then we don't think of him in terms of a separated part and parcel anymore. He is in fact eternally connected with the Lord and is fully absorbed in the Lord, so much so that you can no longer even tell the difference between the lover and beloved. At least the difference between them becomes diminished to such a degree that one sees no difference in interest whatsoever between the loved one and he who loves him. Because the interest has become one, therefore there is a oneness there. However, although this is the purified oneness platform, one should not mistake this to be the oneness experienced by the pantheists, impersonalists, who say God is everywhere, God is everything, therefore it is all one. This is why Madhvacharya introduced the philosophy, which is also spoken of in other places. It's not that he introduced something new, but he emphasized the philosophy of Dvaitavad, that there is an absolute difference between the Lord and the living entity. The Lord and the living entity are different. And being different, they are to be, Lord is to be worshipped by the living entities who are different from him. Therefore they must worship him because he is great, we are small. And that is all there is to it. The pantheists, the impersonalists, say that it is all one, and therefore, because it is all one, you may not worship Krishna. Particularly, you can worship anything you like. You can even worship yourself. Ahangropashana it is called. Because you are also God, the rock is also God, the bug is also God, the tree is also God. Everything's God everywhere. So you can worship whatever you like, and you'll be worshiping God. So therefore they worship themselves. Now, of course, if you examine the motivation behind that, you'll see that obviously everything is not all one, because if you could worship anything, and that is just as good a God as anything else, then why worship yourself in particular? One worships himself in particular as God because he likes the idea of being God, which means it's better that he's God than the rock is God, because his own personal desires are involved here. He likes the idea. He thinks this is very good, that I shall be God. So that means desire is there. That means he's not all one. From your point of view, it's much better to be God than to be rock. So we find there are many bogus points in such philosophical ideas. For instance, you challenge a Mayavadi who says it's all one. Why don't you give me your wallet? We did this once in Wels in Austria, just recently. Very interesting experience. There was one lady who had to say something at the end of the lecture because she was supposed to be the authority in Vedic philosophy in Wels. So she started talking, of course, the typical Mayavadi garbage. So we just immediately shot back with her the typical Mayavadi defeating argument. If it's all one, then give me your wallet. So she immediately got up and threw the wallet right on the table, right on the stage. I said, thank you. So as I was reaching down to get it, the audience was shocked. So the lady ran up and said, wait, let me take my house key. I said, your house, my house, it's all the same. I'll keep it, thank you. She said, no, I've got to have my house key. I said, all right, take your whole wallet. It's not one, is it? She said, no, just the house key, you can have the rest. I said, I don't want it, take it away. So they will make various arrangements like that to try to show how it's all one, blah, blah. But, in fact, it is not all one. Everybody knows it. Even the Mayavadi knows it, ultimately. Even when he's merged, so-called merged, in the oneness of Brahman, after a while he gets bored. The reason you fall down is because you get bored. Plain and simple. Boredom. You don't anymore like just being merged up there. And at that point, when you get bored enough, you say, I want to do something. And then you fall down into back to the earthly planet and do something as a philanthropist or a very great charity worker, social worker, social welfare activities, make a school, make a library, make a hospital, something like this. Mundane work, which one feels very good about. So, Mayavadi in general, pantheist in general, this philosophy is understood for what it is by anyone with knowledge. So, when we say Krishna is everything, Krishna is everywhere, we don't mean like that. We mean that it's his energy. And after all, you cannot, in fact, separate the two. Energy and energetic source. You can't separate sun and sunshine. Sunshine will manifest even though we cannot see the sun. Sun may be covered by cloud, but still we see the light of the sun. It is still sunshine, although we cannot see the sun. The sun may be over there, you may look over here, but you still see everything illuminated by the sunshine. The sunshine cannot exist without the sun. So therefore, they are inseparable. And they are of the same quality as well. Heat and light. So, similarly, you cannot separate the Lord and his energy. And in fact, it's eternally connected. But by consciousness, it has been separated. Therefore, the lesson is how to again connect the energy and the energetic source. Although by consciousness it is separated, the lesson to be learned is how to connect the energy with the energetic source. How to connect Krishna's energy with Krishna. This is where the loving relationship between the Lord and his devotee enters in. Now, although the devotee knows everything is but Krishna's energy, he also knows that it is not Krishna. Devotee will never be satisfied by worshipping the book stand. It's not going to satisfy him in the slightest. Although he may know this is Krishna's. But he thinks, yes, but I want Krishna, the possessor of the book stand. That which is possessed and the possessor are definitely different. Although, in one sense, they may have many similarities. But, in fact, the one who has some personal understanding wants to relate with the possessor of the thing. Although sometimes we find, like the peoples with the rock and roll stars, formerly they used to just want to rip off a piece of clothing or something. I can say this was the shirt that was worn by Joe Starr. Then they put it in their house and they worship it. It's very dangerous to be a big star, because all the girls who are around 16 years old, they come and they rip off all your clothes for various reasons. And they like to hang it up in their room like a trophy. Then they worship this very big phenomena. So we find that sometimes people, they see like that there is some similarity between the possession of someone and the person himself. Devotee, of course, also sees that similarity. We do not rip off the deity's clothes, but when they are handed to us by the pujari out of act of mercy, being that the deities have new clothes and these old clothes are being retired, we may also worship those, or any other paraphernalia which was used directly by the Lord. However, we do not recommend that you just simply worship the cape of the deity, but rather the cape on the deity. Because the possessor of the cape is, after all, the one whom we are worshipping. So the possessed elements are all here, and in fact that's not different than that which we have seen all the time, even when we're in Maya. We've seen Krishna's things all the time. We always see Krishna's things. Everywhere we go we see Krishna's things. But who thinks about it like that? Nobody. When you see the rock and you see the tree, you think, I'm seeing rock, I'm seeing tree. So if you see book stand, you think, I'm seeing book stand. You don't think specially, well, this one is Krishna's book stand and out there it's Maya's rock. You see things, you tend to see things as things. This is the relationship that we have with Maya. It covers us. So therefore we see all these things simply as things. But because we're being trained, we can at least gradually bring our consciousness around to seeing deity as Krishna. We begin to see, of all the things and all the elements which we may see, but here we may see him too, but he's special. This is the stage of Prakrita Bhakta. The stage of Prakrita Bhakta. Prakrita Bhakta, he's just coming to the point where he can see the deity as special. He sees the deity as different from all these other things, which are also Krishna's energy. And the deity is also Krishna's energy, but he has decided to take shelter within his own energy. He has decided to manifest within his own energy and accept that energy as himself, as his own form. Expansion of himself. Just like you may have wire, and you may have the source of energy. So that source of energy is a big potency, and the wire is carrying a little potency. But if by electrical arrangement, by desire, you want, the wire can carry big potency too. You just have to arrange it that way. So Krishna can manifest anywhere through his creation by his own desire and potency. And that part of the creation where he manifests may now be as powerful and potent as the original Supreme. Therefore, we worship the deity as the Supreme, for he has manifested there as he likes with full potency. However, Krishna may act in a way according to his own desire that the devotee may understand him. Sometimes the deity may talk and walk and do many things for the satisfaction of the devotee, and sometimes he may not. It depends on where he is and who he is, who he's dealing with. Sometimes the deity talks to the devotee when the devotee is sufficiently purified to understand that here's the Lord. He who's worshiping the deity as the Lord without differentiation, for him, the deity may not have any problem to speak to him, because that devotee already accepts him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no problem for the devotee and the deity to relate as Krishna and his devotee. But if the devotee has not already come to the point of being completely 100% realized that here is the Supreme Lord with all that implies, Krishna will not reveal himself in that way, because our tendency is to reject Krishna by our fallen nature. That's why we're in the material world. Our tendency is to reject Krishna. Therefore, Krishna will not expose himself to he who may reject him again. We have already done. Therefore, Krishna does not expose himself to he who may fall back again. Therefore, Krishna will remain as deity. And for those who are factually neophyte, they will not be able to see beyond that. They will only be able to see deity. They won't be able to see Krishna everywhere, within the heart of all other devotees and all persons, and within their own heart as well. They won't be able to see like that. So for them, the very important distinction to make is the differentiation between the devotee and the Lord. That's very important to make. Difference between the devotee and the Lord, so that the devotee will always understand, I'm here, Lord is there, I must worship him who's there. And when the devotee worships he who's there, the Lord, then he becomes purified in that way. And then gradually, he will understand the Lord within the heart of all living entities. And then gradually he will also understand everything is Krishna's energy. But he will always see it in terms of the differentiation. Now when one is on the Majjhima platform, he will also make distinction between the devotee of the Lord and the non-devotee of the Lord. The Prakrita Bhakta, he's only seeing the deity and maybe spiritual master. He doesn't see beyond that. He doesn't understand the other devotees either. He doesn't understand their relative value. He doesn't understand the way in which they may also manifest Krishna. But when one is a middle-class devotee, he not only understands others, but he understands this person's a devotee, he's all right. That person's a non-devotee, he's in trouble. I must preach to that person so that he becomes a devotee too. That's the Majjhima platform. And that person's a demon, so I should avoid him. And when he's on the Uttama platform, he sees there's the deity, there is Krishna. But Krishna is everywhere, and Krishna is within everything. Krishna is within everyone's heart, and everybody is engaging under the instruction of Krishna to fulfill their desire, all right. but that is the way Krishna is inspiring them. He doesn't see anything wrong with that, for he only sees Krishna. Since he sees nothing bad within himself, he only sees good within everyone else too. Therefore, Uttama Adhikari cannot act as Uttama Adhikari on this platform and preach. Therefore, Uttama Adhikari has to come down to the platform of Madhya Adhikari. Otherwise, he cannot preach. Now, if you are on the Uttama Adhikari platform, I don't think we have to worry about this. This is all theoretical. That means you will not see anybody to preach to, because you'll only see good everywhere. You may see within yourself that you're not very advanced, but you'll see everybody else is doing quite fine. Spiritual master cannot act like that. He does, perhaps, at the end of the life, when he only sees the good, when he actually reveals his position. But during the time of engaging disciples and training them, he has to be a professional fault finder. He has to find the fault. Not just artificial fault, but real fault. He has to find the disease within the heart. And then, is the incense upside down there? And then, after such finding, try to get rid of it. Therefore, periodically, one finds out in relating with spiritual master that, oops, that hurts. Now he's doing something that hurts. Ooh, I don't know if this is very good. I don't like that. Because spiritual master finds the fault and takes his sharp knife and starts cutting. And when we see like that, then we don't like that. That hurts too much. Because the heart being filled with dirty things, when you have to cleanse something very dirty, it's just like if you have your skin and there's some tar stuck on it. To take it off hurts like mad because it's stuck. If you try to pull it off, then you're pulling the skin too, and And if you try to cut it, then you also gets all irritated. If you put some benzene on it to dissolve it, it also starts to harm everything. No matter how you slice this pie, you're gonna get pain. Because the very fact that you got some tar on your hand means you're in for some trouble. You just have to see, here's tar on the hand, that means trouble. I don't even have to be concerned with how it means trouble. I know it means trouble. Because no matter what you do with this stuff, it's going to cause you trouble because it's on your hand. Similarly, you've got the gunky tar of material desires stuck in the heart. And you know that's going to mean trouble. If you know anything, you know it's going to mean trouble. That's all. And it's going to mean trouble. There's no doubt about it. And you're going to have trouble. And at some time that when it starts getting down, the purification process starts getting down to that gunk in the heart, then it's going to start hurting. At that time, you're tested whether or not you're actually Krishna conscious, whether or not you learned anything, whether or not you actually have any interest in having the spiritual master purify. And at that time one finds out about all the gunk that's there. Even though formerly he thought himself practically an empowered incarnation of devotional service, now he finds out that he's just like everybody else, with heart full of gunk. Therefore, at that point, or before that point, one has to start being prepared for cleansing process. Cleansing process. And cleansing process means trouble, because we are very dirty. So therefore we have to be prepared for struggle. Sometimes neophyte devotees, especially on the Prakrita Bhakta platform, they don't tolerate to see the purification process that comes from outside of the deity or even of the spiritual master. Basically, Prakrita Bhakta means deity. They don't even understand spiritual master. Even spiritual master tries to chastise them, they sometimes just go away. They don't like that either. We have seen such Prakrita Bhaktas. Sometimes we have disciples who are so neophyte, we can't even chastise them. One who's in the middle class platform, when spiritual master chastises him, he feels great bliss. He likes that very much. In fact, he places his head there and says, beat it, beat it. Of course, sometimes they do that like a joke, because they know spiritual master is playing. Therefore, he's not really hitting the point. Sometimes the point gets hit in those persons too, and all of a sudden, don't do that anymore. Yeah. So, when one is factually advanced a little bit, and that's the stage we have to come to. After all, if we just remain piles of neophyte disciples, this is not very beneficial either for disciple or spiritual master. Spiritual masters who accept too many neophyte disciples get great troubles. Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he said, I'm not interested in building big temples and filling them filled with neophyte disciples. They made one temple in Calcutta called Bagh Bazaar Temple. Very nice, marble, everything. But even as it was going up, he was feeling some remorse, because he said there will be fire within these walls, because all this very nice opulence will cause everyone to fight over who's going to be in what room. If the shoe fits, wear it. Everybody starts fighting over who's going to be in what room. No, I want this room. No, I want that room. No, you shouldn't have this room. You stink. No, I should have this room. I'm better than you. And so everybody starts fighting over rooms. So he saw that this would happen. So he thought, I would rather sell all the marble in the temple and print books. Better we just sell all the marble and print books. Because one will become too much attached. Because of being neophyte. Not understanding the real point. The Bhagavata Vidhi. Bhagavata Vidhi is the preaching. Bhagavata Vidhi is the book production and book distribution. This is the Bhagavata Vidhi. This is the higher class platform. If you're a Prakrita Bhakta neophyte, you can't come to the Bhagavata Vidhi. You'll never understand it. One must really be a higher class personality to really understand it. And at that time one will also understand to experience the purification process. He will see lessons coming from many different places. He will understand how these lessons that come, they strike upon those parts of the heart which are very contaminated. And he will then be able to learn the lessons well and accept those lessons and surrender to Krishna. And at that time, when he has learned many lessons, then he factually becomes detached. That's what renunciation means, after all, detachment. He will factually be detached from things, places, peoples, everything. He will only see Krishna's service. Therefore, he will not see only Krishna's service in this country or that country. We know this is a big contamination. What is that? Let's do it quick. So, he will not see, for instance, that, all right, I am German, so I must do devotional service in Germany. I'm getting near to home. Swedish. Therefore, I must just simply do everything Swedish. It's getting heavy. I am, Polish. Therefore, everything Polish, this is the real nectar of life. And anything else is just... And I'm getting real near the heaviest one of all. I am Russian. These Poles. These Yugoslavs. And then there are these Yugoslavs who say, beat them all. Everybody's got their contamination, oh yes. And it's so deep in the heart. So deep in the heart. Then one starts seeing this is that nationality devotion. Distance, this is my life, this is my goal, this is my purpose. But to come to the Majjhima Adhikari platform means one no longer makes such a distinction. He sees, this person is Krishna conscious. That is very good. This person is in Maya. We must preach to him and help him. And bring him out of the platform of being in Maya and bring him to the platform of being Krishna conscious. We must bring him out of this pit of material existence. Therefore, we do not mind what kind of a body he's wearing. If it's a body with this label, that stamp, or another, we don't care. We work for all bodies, everywhere. All nationality bodies, all language bodies, all sex bodies, all different forms of mentality bodies. We don't make distinction. It is not that we say only this kind of a body can come to Krishna consciousness. Every kind of a body can come to Krishna consciousness. We welcome you. And we work for the benefit of all kinds of bodies. All kinds of persons who are within these different bodies. We are working for the benefit of the spirit soul within every body. Therefore, we don't work for the benefit of the body, and we don't see such distinctions as the body. We see, here is a living entity, he is in Maya, let us help this person in Maya right now. We don't have to worry about the different bodies. Yes, certainly there will be differences according to the bodies. There's no doubt about it. We can also delineate without any difficulty the different national traits, the different national diseases. They all break down into categories. Every nationality has his disease. Every type of personality has his disease. We know about it. We talk about it. That's all right. But that doesn't affect our activity, except that we just adjust things. Just like if you want to make a management system in Sweden, it has to be very impersonal. It has to be. As soon as it becomes personal, everybody goes away. In Poland, it has to be totally personal. As soon as it becomes impersonal, everybody goes away. So we understand the difference like this. That in one place you have to do it in one way. In another place you have to do it in another way. Then it works. But that does not mean we think this one's better than that one, this one's better than this one. Therefore we should preach only to this one and not that one. We preach to all. Even though sometimes it may seem to be very difficult. Anyway, we preach to all. This is our understanding. We work for the benefit of all, and we should categorize in our own minds that these distinctions are all on the material platform. We should see these distinctions as material and work with them. In the same way, we understand if you're preaching Krishna consciousness in Sweden, you get your Tensen jacket. And if you're preaching Krishna consciousness in, Lagos, Nigeria, you bring your short sleeve shirt. We understand this. That doesn't mean that the preaching is different. Yes, the preaching may be different in the sense that here we can use examples talking about snow. And there, if you talk about snow, no one will understand what you're talking about. Just like in some places in the Caribbean, when we talk about the miseries of duality, like hot and cold, everybody just looks at you and tries to figure out what you're talking about. What is cold? It's been 25 degrees for the last billion years, and they can't figure out what cold is. Maybe at night it goes down to 23. So, obviously, when you are in different places, you will have different kinds of things to talk about, different kinds of arrangements to make, different kinds of foods to eat. Like we remember when the BBT was in Zurich. It was a continuous fight because all the Swiss devotees, they wanted chapatis, and all the German devotees, they wanted bread. And I said that if you don't have to eat bread, bread is not Vedic, eat chapatis. So then immediately they all, said okay, but then they went out and made bread themselves, or like God knows what, bought a loaf of bread somewhere, I have no idea. Couldn't live without bread, so we said okay, eat bread. It's like in Italy, you try to tell the Italian devotees, eat Vedic food, don't eat the spaghettis and macaronis and all this. They go, yeah, sure. So they all come to Prasadam, they just pick at the Vedic food, then they all run off into their little places and cook up a bowl of pasta somewhere. You can teach philosophy, but you can't expect that the zebra will change its stripe. Yeah. So we will definitely have differentiations according to the material body. That's all right. We may make adjustments according to the material body. That's all right. But that should never, ever interfere with our service. Yeah. We may understand each and every department requires a different way of doing things. Just like, for instance, here in Almivks. Those who are in the farming department, they may eat 12 loaves of bread every day. That's all right, because they can burn up 12 loaves of bricks every day in their stomach. But if you give that to the translators, then as soon as the translator leaves the prasadam room and sits down at his desk and picks up his pen, immediately he will fall over on the floor. Boom, dead. Yeah. So obviously one class of man's food is another class of man's poison. So we have to be intelligent and arrange it like that. We have to give the bricks for those who can digest bricks, and we have to give the pebbles for those who cannot digest bricks. Yeah. You have to arrange accordingly. Everything has to be managed like that. We don't demand everybody become one. You all merge into one big oneness. No. Differentiation is there. But we never make such differentiation by seeing, oh, here is a devotee from this place, here's a devotee from that place. Therefore, we will do service like this. We say, all right, when it comes, for instance, distributing, we'll distribute books to every nationality. In our book bag, we'll have all the different languages. Some devotees, they have like that when they distribute. They always have some Russian books in their bag, or a Polish book, a Czech book, a Hungarian, whatever. Whoever they meet in that language, oh, here, take in your own language. They don't think, oh, we only preach in this place. It's like we found the phenomena in Germany that we have made twice as many devotees as actually are living in the yatra, because they've all joined in other countries around the world. Yeah. Though that doesn't discourage us. That people become Krishna conscious in other places, that's all right. That they join because of our preaching, that's very good, because we get the credit. Somebody else may get the manpower, that's all right, Krishna will take care of us. But we get credit there from the Lord, He knows. So, in this way, we just go on. We don't think we have any particular need to do it in any one way. We just preach to all people, all nations, all countries. The more living entities you bring back to Godhead by your preaching, the more living entities who you plant the seed of Krishna consciousness in, the better for you. So therefore, we should all cooperate together very nicely and understand that we're all spirit soul and we're all related to Krishna. In all of these differences, we're seeing all the time differences. But all these differences are actually a product of Maya. And although we live with the differences, obviously we live with the differences. But that does not change the fact that we are preaching Krishna consciousness to all living entities everywhere. And in this way, we may develop our compassionate mood, develop our higher vision, the real vision of the Madhyamadikari, which is to just preach Krishna consciousness. And then we become very happy. So we give exactly 10 minutes for questions, because we've already gone much too long. As an explanation for the Polish devotees who would be expecting 5-hour classes, no doubt. We're in the middle of this big marathon to finish, and we have exactly 6 days. So it's not possible generally. So therefore we're not going to have any evening programs. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, because I'm not going to go downtown to the Sunday feast there. Tomorrow afternoon we'll have just a program for the Polish devotees, because after all, they've come a long way. In the afternoon, special program. So you can save up all your questions and everything for that time. But I don't want to see one other devotee there who is not Polish. National distinction. And if you come, we will throw you out immediately. So anyway, now you get exactly 10 minutes. Maybe not even 10 minutes. Maybe 6 minutes. We'll see. To ask questions on these important subject matters. And if there are no questions, then that's fine too. Well, I guess there's no burning questions, huh? All right. Let us work hard, quickly, efficiently. We're running out of time. Do not hammer nails into your fingers. Do not run saws over your hand. Do not drop things on your toes. Watch what you're doing, but work quickly. Harikesa. Jai.